Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Jack Ryan, Season 1, Episode 4. It is called The Wolf. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. So, there was no Henny in this one, because we focused a lot on that last time. No Victor as well, which is probably a mercy killing, if nothing else. And we focused more on Jack's pursuit of Ali in France, with the Greer sort of falling up in a different car. And there was a lot of time spent with Jack and Sandrine. And it was just enough to make us like Sandrine, just enough to think of her as a human being before she's killed.
Pretty much.
That's what they did here. I do have a problem with the moment she dies, though. It really frustrated me.
Yeah?
So the police officer comes up behind and sees someone with a gun, pulls out his gun and says, "Hey, drop the gun." She just turns round whilst holding up the gun and gets shot. I'm like, announce who you are.
I get that.
Now, don't get me wrong. I get why he wouldn't just take it as fact with just her saying it, but you would at least try. You would say, "Hey, I'm a cop. My gun's on a perp. I have to keep it aimed at him. I'm not moving," or something. Say something. She just turns around without saying anything, with her gun still in the air. Of course they shot you. Of course he did.
No, I get that. I guess in her defense, she's not really thinking. She's like, "Hey, she's in the moment." I guess what I'm saying is that the French police are kind of shoddy and need better training.
And it took
Bloody
about a
French.
minute for Connor to start making comments about the French. What a surprise. So, yeah, so that was the thing. But, I mean, I actually did kind of like them bonded in the car. I think what we've been saying is that typically the actual, almost the characters' interaction between the big moments is kind of some of the better stuff in the show.
Yeah.
And that was kind of true here as well, for the most part. And we had the... Sorry?
I would say my favourite moment in this episode is a character interaction. It's Greer and the other guy in the car.
The French cop, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's been very racist and anti-Muslim.
It's
and like,
Islamophobic.
yeah, there you go. There's a specific word for it. But no, he's basically, it's not even France anymore. They're taking over our country. He just pulls out. I'm sure it's just not beads. I'm sure there's a specific name for it, but
It did have a name for it. But
Yeah.
Essentially prayer beads.
yeah. He just pulls them out. He's like, "Oh, they keep me calm when I'm being tested." And he's just like, "Oh shit, I'll stop talking right now."
Yeah. That whole thing's just like, because obviously we already know.
Yeah.
So that whole thing is just so funny to me.
So, yeah, I mean the actual chase, because they're chasing Ali, and there's the scene where the cop pulls him over, and you can tell that he gets a call to let him go. So he just, because it plays almost unnatural at first. Where he's like, you saw the gun wound like under his top. Why wouldn't you stop him? But he's clearly been told, no, let him go. Like they've called him in because they're following him with the drone, so they're kind of aware of what's going on. And he's let to go. But if they end up running into him at the station after he switched cars. Again, a little bit. I mean, this is probably the biggest problem with this show, is that it is very derivative, and there are really hokey moments. Because as much as I like the emotion of the ending of the last episode, you can't look at it and say it's not a bit over the top and really like overly dramatic, right?
No, the show doesn't really do so.
It doesn't. So, and if that's a problem for you, if you can't like sort of get past that and just get into the emotion of it, like I get why you just hate this. I really do. But so it's a bit coincidental that that it happens to be at that station there, and it's kind of like, oh, he comes around he's in the toilet. He comes around holding he's like, oh shit, Jack Ryan's there. Gunfight time.
Yeah. I guess my biggest problem is, why would you stop at an actual gas station? Just if stop somewhere else where you're not likely to just be noticed, right? And someone go, oh yeah, it needs to be filled up. Well, no. You fill up the car before you swap it into it. You prepare for that, surely. If you've got a backup car ready to swap into.
What? He's not got a backup car. He hotwired. He stole one.
I mean, that's true. That's a good point.
This was not a planned vehicle for him to have.
No, you're right. That's my bad. I'm tired. I remember the shot now.
Yeah, the hot
looks into
wiring.
it, you
Yeah,
see the wires.
Yeah.
No, I do remember that.
So yeah. My big problem is the way Sandrine dies, because I did, she grew on me. She's kind of flirting with him a little bit and being like, I'm not into that, and she's like, oh, text this woman. Go on, text her. No, that's because probably my favorite little character beat was probably after she gives him the advice, like, no, that's like a pussy. No, you need to be a strong man and have balls and so show
Yeah,
confidence and
yeah.
that'll be attractive. And then he sends the text that she approves of, and then goes, although I hope you don't creep her out because American women aren't like French women, so she might not like it as much. And then he's just like, this is the eyes. He's like, what did
Well,
you
what
just
have you
make me
done?
do?
Yeah,
That was really funny, but
was.
yeah, the actual chase is good. I think what I liked about the actual chase and then the fight with Ali that resulted in the gunshot that killed, he has to shoot him. What I liked about it is that I liked it, and he might grow out of this as the show goes on. It would make sense if he did, but I like that there's a genuine horror in his face as that he has to do this. Like he's not happy that he's killing someone. He's not comfortable with it. He's doing it because he needs to in the moment, but he's clearly affected by it. He's clearly upset by it to the point where even Greer on the way back says, "Hey, like, don't take this home with you. I know it's affecting you. Hell, even call me if you need to." And they've not been the most friendly. But he's like, "No, if you need someone to talk to about it, call me." But you know,
I do have a critique about the moment itself, and
oh, go on.
the fight as a whole. So he's won. He's got the gun on him, and he's like questioning him. And the guy goes to pull something out of his back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a gun? Because
It
obviously he
was.
thinks he's pulling a gun. Right, it was a
Yeah,
gun.
it was.
So if he had a gun the whole time, why did he just jump him when he came into the room? He hit him from behind. Why not just shoot him?
It's a good question because I assumed at the start of the fight because during the shootout at the station he ran out of ammo. I assumed he was just out from then
Yeah.
on. But then he goes to pull out the gun. I get my reading of this would be that he did that so he would shoot him because he doesn't want to be interrogated. He basically tricked him into killing him.
No, I
Yeah.
agree on that. I agree. He definitely was like, no, I'm not going to say anything, so I've got to make him kill me.
Yeah.
I get that, but I don't know why he didn't just pull out the gun in the first place. Just so he comes in unless you think it was empty the whole time.
I guess I think it was empty the whole time. Yeah, and I think he just wanted to trick him
He,
into it. And the reason why I didn't do that immediately is because he just wanted to win. He wanted to get away. But when he realized he
but you
couldn't,
think he
yeah,
knew it was empty when he went to pull it out at the end,
yes,
and just was like, well, okay.
I mean, maybe that's being too kind to the show, but that's my reading of it. If I'm thinking it through and saying this is why it played out this way.
It's plausible enough. It was just something that because I wasn't sure if it was actually because it's only a quick shot and it
Yeah.
never lingers on it. I wasn't sure if it was actually a gun or if he was pulling something else out. But it never went, oh no, it was actually something else. It never showed
Yeah.
me anything.
What I like about it is that they didn't achieve anything. Sure, they killed this guy, but it didn't lead to anything. They don't have any like contacts or any leads to anyone else, and it got Sandrine killed. Like she didn't want to do this. She wanted to just arrest him there and then, and they didn't get what they wanted, and she ended up dead. So
Yeah.
I felt the guilt in his face. So I like that part of it.
I appreciate still doing a good job of making the bad guys feel like people because when he's shot and he's dying,
Mm-hmm.
he looks terrified.
He does, yeah. No, I like that because I think one of the pitfalls this show could fall into is it could just be we've got Arabic villains and that's just what they are and they're just we're just going to be and
there's not he's not dying and going glory
yeah
any of that. He's just
now
terrified.
don't get me wrong, it's debatable once this is all said and done how successful it is it not being just it's like the 80s where it was all Russians where we're just going to use Arabic villains and there's going to be villains. It's going to be kind of racist. So far, at least it's attempting to make them feel like real people and give us their side. Because the show does start with it's America's fault they became this way. We start with the bombing of their home, and
Yes.
it kind of so you could argue that even though it does these things, that ultimately it just plays into the tropes anyway, and that's a fair point to make. Because I'm not sure if it's proven to me yet that it's actually avoiding it, but it is at least spending time trying to make them feel more like human beings. So I think that's a fair point.
I agree. I don't know if it's there yet, but it is trying, and I can respect that.
Yeah. But no, so the show was fun, and obviously he comes back, and Greer's literally you'll get drunk and get laid, and he kind of ends up doing that. I don't know if I needed the scene of Kathy deciding to answer the text.
Yeah, I didn't like that either. I thought it was a bit much, and
Yeah.
I felt a bit like, well, we know you're gonna say yeah.
Yeah, it was weird because like obviously like Sandrine was calling him you're a wolf, remember? And they play with that later on. I actually kind of liked the scene at the restaurant where he starts arguing with the waiter, but it turned because you're first you're like, is he like going? Is this like PTSD affecting him and he's getting angry? And then it's just he just knows the guy. It's a joke.
You feel like as well like maybe he's trying to be a big man in front of
Yeah.
her.
Yeah, he's taking Sandrine's advice a bit too far, and then it's no, he just knows this guy. This is a joke. It's fine because you can see it in her face. Kathy's like ready to just okay. This is the last date I'm having with him. This guy's crazy. It's like no, it's just a joke. He knows the guy. It's fine. Yeah, they're hammering lobsters as well. That's how that scene starts. Uh,
Crabs.
oh, sorry, crabs. You're right. Yes, crabs. Seafood. It's all the same.
Shelly crustaceans.
Yes, there you
I
go.
get you.
Um, so they're doing that, and that's all fine. I like the relief in his face when he gets the text. I was like, oh, I'm actually kind of happy that he got the response. Like he was kind of worried about it earlier on. I was like, okay,
I think it plays better though if we hadn't seen her make the decision.
I agree. I agree. Especially since it was a little bit on the nose, that scene where she's like, oh, he's like a type B, maybe with a bit of type C. He's like, oh, that's different from your usual type. Yeah, I'm trying something different. Which I get is supposed to like sort of almost be funny because it's the opposite of where he's actually trying to be the A type. With the wolf, he's
Yeah.
trying to be the A type.
Or he actually is, and we're just seeing the different side
Yeah.
now. Like the side he presents, he wants to be seen.
Because he's heavily lying about his job. Actually, he's really watering it down, and I mean he's flat out saying he's in a different. He's saying that he works with money, but he's like, oh, I deal with like when someone goes abroad, I make sure they all their equipment and food.
I imagine this is just what they have to say.
Probably. I wasn't sure at first. I thought, I feel like you could probably still see you're just an analyst who looks at the money, but he's just not allowed to talk about any of his actual projects or what he's looking at.
I wonder if they're told just don't tell anyone because it makes you a target. I guess.
People
yeah. Know, or you might know something, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate she kind of knows that. Okay, I get you bullshitting. You can't really say anything. I won't ask you again.
Yeah, I was 50-50 because I felt like, okay, she kind of seems to know, but it could almost read like she's saying, okay, I agree, it's boring, I won't ask. I'm hoping they don't try and swerve us later. Or not, it's not even a swerve. I just hope later it doesn't pretend like, oh, she didn't know the whole time. She just believed it word for word.
Yeah, I don't think she hasn't got the specifics. She doesn't know exactly what it is, but he knows. I think she knows it's whatever it is. It's classified. He can't say.
Yeah, it's more than that. Yeah, I'd hope so. I will critique, and this kind of goes back to the sex scene from last time. So they have sex, right? She goes up to he goes up to her place, and it's like, oh, it's fine, and they start kissing. But for some reason, the scene keeps going, and we hear quite a lot of this song play as they're making out, and all the way until the bra's off, we see some boobs, and then it eventually cuts away. And literally at the end of that scene, all I could feel is like, why did we stay there so long? Have them start kissing and cut.
Do you know what this felt like to me?
The Room.
Especially
Tommy Wiseau.
No,
it's that love scene. They want to use the whole damn song. It's that damn scene from The Room.
I don't know if I can argue with that. I wasn't going to be quite that harsh.
That's fair.
I was going to be relatively harsh still. But with the especially with the song choice, it felt like a CW show.
Yeah, but with nudity. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not a prude. I'm not against nudity. It felt so out of place and pointless. Like why? This show doesn't need it. It's weird.
And because like I said, it felt like a CW scene that I've seen 100 times.
Yeah.
Exactly the same, just without the boobs, right? And it accomplishes exactly the same.
Yeah. So I don't know. So I'd critique that scene for that. And then of course we go over to Suleiman's plot. He goes to see an ISIS leader, and we hear in the news that there was the batch of doctors who were kidnapped in Syria, who were there to try and help with relief, and the civil war's going on, and they're trying to offer help and whatnot. And then we find out he's actually going to pick them up. He's going to buy them off this other guy. And not only that, he buys off his men and takes all his men away from him, and then kidnaps him and beats the shit out of him in front of all of his men.
I did really like the parallel here where Suleiman calls the ISIS leader a wolf.
Yeah, I noticed that.
I thought that was a nice touch. Given that that's what we've been, saying about Jack for a little bit now, I thought it was a nice of going, okay, no, this is how he sees them. He's kind of lumping them together.
I will say, I wouldn't say I'm offended by this, right? But I will say I don't know if it's in great taste to sell your villain, because the entire conceit here is oh, this guy's worse than ISIS. That's kind of the thing here, right? They're showing that he's even worse, and he's more dangerous, and he's the big bad, right? And I'm not sure if that is if that's just poor taste, because that's still very much an ongoing thing, and that feels a bit weird.
I don't know if I would read it as saying, "Oh, he's worse than ISIS." I think he's been more unpredictable because they don't know his goal.
Okay,
right?
Because the fact that he actually takes his men from them and beats them up in front of them, it's like, no, I'm in power. It was like he's dethroning the old threat, and now he's the and not that this is all of ISIS by any means, but
this cell.
Yeah, this cell. I know, like I say, it's a minor point, but it's something that occurred to me as I was watching it. I was just sort of thinking outside of the show, and just is this just a little bit, But I guess that's the kind of
So
danger you get into when you're dealing with this type of villain in general right now. Is it's impossible not to.
it's one of these things where we're set in the Middle East, and we're using that backdrop. We're set present day. We've already mentioned ISIS in the show. I feel like, okay, if you don't do it, does it feel like you're avoiding it?
Uh, it it's a bit of a tricky one because they want to make it feel like gritty and real, and it's like in the real world, kind of CIA spy ops, blah blah blah. But at the same
It's
time, it's like you almost like can I just pick a different villain for the sake of the entertainment, just so it's not hitting real world
no, I think it's a little
buttons.
contradictory because, like I say, it's trying to do these gritty real world things, but most of the show is kind of switch your brain off. Here's some
It
action.
is, yeah. So it's like just make it Russians, make it whatever. Hell, Russians arguably
Yeah,
more uh, palpable.
yeah.
To
No. I think the problem is the conceit of the story of humanizing these people and saying, okay,
mm,
maybe America was something to blame. It doesn't really work if you do that with Russia.
that's no, that's true. That's
In the
true.
present climate, it has to be the Middle East for that to work.
Unless you do like a weird like flashback where I don't know somehow Trump as a child kicked like Putin's father in the nuts or something. I don't know. That's a schlocky movie waiting to happen. The true origin of Putin.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Um, so yeah, so it sets up that he's got these, and we don't know why he's got these people. Obviously they're hostages. Is this for ransom? Is this for something else? Um, there's a moment where like because they put the leader, the former leader, in the cage with them, and so one of them's like almost going to go over to him as if because they're all doctors. We know that. So he's like, oh,
Yeah,
is he going to help him? Because he's bleeding. He's been bashed in the head multiple times, and the other guy's like stops him. He's like, no, like don't do it.
yeah.
Um,
It's interesting because obviously, even though they presumably have at least an inclination of who this guy is,
mm,
if not outright no. But at the same time, the doctors they took an oath, right, to just help
yeah.
anyone.
I think being kidnapped by someone kind of overrides that for
No,
most
no,
people.
it's fair, but
Yeah,
I mean, worth noting. I mean, he's in the cage with them as well.
yeah. That does not put him in equal footing, though. Come on now.
No, it doesn't. It does not. But I'm just saying, that I think I would like it to address for them that they did they did take an oath to help, and they willingly chose not to.
I think everyone would be okay with that, though. In this
They probably
case,
would, but I would like to just see it addressed. Is all.
it depends how much we get of them. And we see them, the kid who was loyal to Suleiman is like maybe having second thoughts, looking at all these cage people, going, "Oh shit, what's my father into?" Um, as one would, but we'll see how that
Yeah.
develops. Of course, the big thing here though is the ending, and we see kind of the first attack because obviously we've been hitting that like whatever Suleiman's up to, it's leading to something, and it seems to be the first of multiple attacks. This is not just the one isolated incident, but it's a church. It's a church in France, and it's a funeral specifically for a priest, no less. They're there for
It's
a.
the yeah, it's the priest we saw at the start of last episode. That cold open.
Oh, you're right. Actually, yeah, you're right. Yeah, so there's
Because I was like, oh, that's what that was for last
yeah.
episode. It was just so that we didn't have a weird timing thing for this.
I have to admit, I kind of would appreciate that have been pushed to this episode, just because I'd remember it.
No, I agree. I think it was only because that if you do that in this episode, it's like, hang on, there's no time passage for us to get to a funeral. It's weird. Ultimately, I don't think you need it at all.
Yeah, it's just a priest died, and they're using this as their because this makes more of a statement.
Like the fact that you didn't remember,
Yeah, I
right?
didn't.
And I don't think it played any differently for you than it did to me.
No, if anything, if you want to show it, just have like a quick flash to it during the funeral scene. You can do that. That's obvious flashback.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I just feel like it was unnecessary. Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought it was. We said last time it was a bit out of place. It was like, well, what's this for here?
yeah.
Even though it was fine on its own.
I completely forgot about that. Jesus, no pun intended. Um, so yeah, so they're there. We've got three of them in there, and they set off their it's like gas bombs of some
I
kind.
thought it was really dark having it be like three priests do this in a
Yeah.
church.
I guess that's how you try and lower suspicion. To
Yeah,
trust the priest, I guess. But they set off all these bombs because we saw them making them before a couple of episodes ago with the liquid and stuff. And they
yeah,
trap
that's
them in the
gas.
church. Yeah. So it's really dirty tactics. It's really like it's not just like a simple. Not that explosions are good, but that's instant death. This was prolonged they're trapped in a building trying to get out, screaming and crying for help.
Yeah, I wonder if there's some part of it being like, I assume they actually are priests because no one's calling them out on it, and there's a lot of priests around, right? So they're presumably recognized by the others in the
Maybe,
community.
yeah.
And I wonder if they don't actually want to blow up a church because they still have some sort of respect for it.
It never even occurred to me that was. I took this more to be this was just a dirtier tactic that was more
Yeah,
vicious.
I do think it's effective where they padlock it and chain the door,
Yeah,
and you've just got all of them reaching out at the end to try and
yeah,
get out. I thought that was effective.
yeah. It's super dark. It's a super dark scene at the end. Which obviously is set up for the next episode, which I assume will be the fallout of this, and like, oh shit, this happened, and
Yeah.
so no, I mean, I think it was an overall fairly tight episode.
I think it
Couple
was definitely better than the last
couple nitpicks here or
one.
there. I am a little worried though. I don't know what's happening, but I have heard there's more Victor in the rest of the season, and I've not heard favourable things about that. So I'm a little worried about that coming back into play. So we'll see if and when. Well, not if we know what's happening, but we'll see when that happens. So
And how we feel.
and how we feel. Yes, yes. Who's to say?
Can it be worse than the shit last episode though?
Don't give them the challenge. They'll meet it, possibly exceed it.
Kind of nervous now.
Anyway, that's episode 4 of Jack Rides. So I think ultimately, now we're halfway through. My opinion of it overall would be it's far too on the nose at times. It's derivative of other action spy shows and movies and stuff. But it does have promising moments and scenes. There's definitely elements in there that I like throughout. The overall build, though, it amounts to a kind of solid if generic show.
Yeah, I think my thoughts at this point are it's a pretty fun, switch your brain off action blockbuster show with a surprisingly good cast.
Yeah. And yeah, we'll see how it develops. And obviously season 2 is still coming. It's already coming, rather, is what I meant to say, because they renewed it before it aired season 1, because in a weird lick. But
because Krasinski's in demand.
Exactly, because he's a big shot director now. But hey, so that is episode 4. Let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv. You can do that over there. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?